5 habits, 7 days, a new life. Are you truly living or just existing? These days, everyone's rushing. But rushing where exactly? Time slips through your fingers. Money is always tight. Your mind feels constantly drained. And deep down, it feels like something's missing. Even when you seem to have everything you should have. Here's the truth. Most people are trying to build an extraordinary life with habits that barely sustain a mediocre one. But what if I told you that in just 7 days, you start changing all of that radically? I know it sounds like an exaggeration, but let me challenge you for a moment. You spent years sabotaging yourself, often without even noticing. So why doubt that 1 week of intentional actions could shift everything? Most people think transformation comes from something massive. But it actually lives in the small things. How you wake up, what you eat, what you consume, and most of all, what you repeat. That's where the magic, or the downfall, happens. This video isn't about random tips. It's about decision, consistency, and purpose-driven habits that don't just boost your productivity. They build a wealth mindset from the inside out. We're talking about financial education that starts at home, in the mirror, in your daily routine. 5 habits, 1 week, a reset. The only question is, do you have the courage to try, or will you keep outsourcing your life? Because, my friend, if you can change your focus, your energy, and your discipline in 7 days, imagine what you could do in 7 weeks or 7 months. Habit 1, wake up early. He was always the kind of guy who woke up to an alarm screaming in his ear and his heart racing. He'd hit snooze like he was trying to delay the inevitable. And like so many others, he told himself, I'm just more productive at night. But here's a hard truth. No one wins a game of financial freedom by starting the day behind. Because if you wake up late, chances are you're late on managing your money, your goals, and your dreams. Waking up early isn't about being fitness. It's about taking daily action with clarity and intention. It's a living metaphor. Getting a line before the world starts pulling you back into chaos. In the first few days, of course his body resisted. He woke up feeling like he'd been hit by a truck, but he pushed through. At 5 a.m., silence tastes like gold. No notifications, no demands. Just you, your coffee, and a chance to set the direction of your life. Instead of diving into his phone, he used that time to stretch, take a walk, or simply breathe deeply and ask one powerful question. What can I accomplish today that brings me closer to financial independence? Want something practical? Start with a 10-minute walk or 5 minutes of meditation using the Headspace app. What matters is activating your mental energy. As he began waking up earlier, his productivity skyrocketed, not because he was awake longer, but because he finally used the first hours of the day for himself. No distractions, no multitasking. The morning became his mental emergency fund, a safe space to plan the week, review spending, brainstorm income ideas, or read books like Secrets of the Millionaire Mind or The Richest Man in Babylon. Starting your day with clarity gives you control over the chaos. Even more powerful, he began starting his day with gratitude. Sounds simple, right? But watching the sunrise with presence became a spiritual savings account. He began listing 3 things he was grateful for while sipping his coffee slowly. That tiny ritual reshaped his wealth mindset. Because a mind focused on what it has creates more. A mind focused on what it lacks drowns in debt, financial and emotional. That moment of reflection gave him more clarity when making money decisions, and more balance when saying no to impulse purchases. Over time, mornings stopped feeling like a sacrifice and became a gift. Waking up early became a symbol of consistency. And here's the fascinating part. Once that one habit shifted, so many others began falling into place. He started tracking expenses in the morning, reviewing his monthly plan with focus, even using that time to brainstorm new income streams. Waking up early isn't just a scheduled choice, it's a future choice. And that one choice unlocked the next habit. One that few people value, but transforms anyone who commits. Habit 2, daily exercise. He was the kind of person who'd look at his running shoes and say, I'll start Monday. But somehow, Monday never came. There was always an excuse ready. Tiredness, no time, laziness, or that classic line, "I'm just not built for this." But what he didn't realize was that the lack of movement was affecting much more than his body. It was draining his mental energy, his focus, and even his financial discipline. Because here's the truth. If you don't have the energy to take care of your own body, you probably won't have the drive to build a solid financial future either. Your body is a foundation for every long-term decision. And the moment he decided to move, everything around him began to move too. At first, he didn't turn into an athlete. He didn't have to. Just 20 minutes a day was enough. A light walk outside, a guided yoga session on YouTube, a quick set of jumping jacks in the bedroom. The goal was simple. Don't let the day end without taking care of your body. Oddly enough, exercise became a form of saving. Not money, but stress. Every drop of sweat washed away anxiety and made space for mental clarity. And with clarity came a deeper sense of responsibility. He stopped putting off important decisions, especially ones about money, priorities, and goals. As the days passed, he noticed changes that went beyond the mirror. His mood lifted. The constant irritation faded. That post-workout lightness, it became the starting point of his day. And with a clearer mind, he started rethinking other habits. Eating too much, impulse spending, wasting time on social media. Consistency in exercise created consistency in other areas. He started listening to financial podcasts right after workouts, like Financa's Paradoys or Me Poop, translated equivalents available in English. And somewhere between push-ups and planks, a millionaire mindset began to take root. One day, he tried something new, yoga. He never thought it was for him. But the practice revealed something deeper, the power of silence, inner listening, and being fully present. Yoga not only helped him sleep better, it built the patience he would later need to navigate slow financial processes, like long-term investments. Because let's be real, investing in real estate or treasury bonds doesn't have the adrenaline rush of a hit workout, but it requires the same discipline, doing what needs to be done, even without immediate results. In the end, this habit taught him something powerful. Taking care of your body isn't vanity. It's a financial strategy, because without health, everything stops. There's no productivity, no wealth building, no extra income, no freedom. Starting the day with a workout became his new wellness deposit, and this active, present lifestyle gave him the mental and emotional space to reflect on who he was and where he was going. And it was in this new space that another life-changing habit was born. Habit 3, daily journaling. At first, the idea of sitting down with a notebook to write about the day felt unnecessary. He thought, why bother? I already know what I lived. But what he didn't know was this. The simple act of writing is like opening an emotional bank account. Each word you write is a deposit of clarity, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. Writing, in fact, is an investment in yourself. It's a moment to check the balance of your soul. And when he accepted the challenge to journal for just 10 minutes a day, he discovered an ally that no finance app could ever replace. In the beginning, the pen felt heavy. He stared at the blank page like he was staring at an overdue bill, unsure where to begin. But one simple question changed everything. What happened today that knocked me off balance? And the words began to flow. Journaling became a way to track patterns, like an emotional statement. He noticed that his stress spikes often matched days of overspending, that skipping workouts led to worse eating, and that the next day, he felt too drained to study finance or plan investments. Then, he added a simple gratitude section, just 3 lines each night. I'm grateful for the food on my table. I'm grateful I paid my bill on time. I'm grateful for today's phone-free walk. It seemed small, but that habit began shaping his money philosophy. He stopped living in scarcity mode and started seeing what he already had. That alone shifted his mindset, because no one builds real wealth by constantly feeling like something's missing. Journaling taught him that financial freedom doesn't begin with $1 million in the bank. It begins with how you see every dollar you already have. He also used a journal to track goals and mini wins. Small notes like, save $6 by bringing my own lunch, said no to an impulse buy. Those tiny victories felt real, almost like he was gamifying his own evolution. And more than that, he started writing down ideas for side income, plans for multiple revenue streams, book insights, YouTube takeaways, even thoughts about the financial legacy he wanted to leave behind. The journal became a treasure map, but instead of pointing outward, it pointed inward toward something far more valuable. Over time, that notebook became a silent mentor. Inside were repeated mistakes, persistent wins, and lessons he never would have learned just by thinking about life. Writing became a way to build invisible wealth, mental clarity, awareness, and decision-making power. A simple habit with deep impact. So deep, in fact, that it even started changing how he approached food. And that leads us right into the next habit. Habit 4, mindful eating. For him, meals used to be just another checkbox on the to-do list. He ate on autopilot, sometimes not even remembering the taste of what was on his plate. Phone in hand, notifications flashing, thoughts racing, and the food just went in. But one day he paused, took a deep breath, and made a choice to turn eating into a moment of presence. Sound dramatic? Maybe. But learning to eat mindfully actually helped him build financial discipline too. Because here's what he realized. When you learn to respect your body's signals, you start respecting your wallet's limits too. Eating became a living metaphor for how he needed to approach life, with more awareness, simplicity, and respect. He started by setting the table, as if he were welcoming someone important, and that someone was himself. He turned off the TV, put his phone on airplane mode, and for the first time in a long time, he paid attention. He chewed slowly, smelled the food, noticed that the beans actually had more flavor than he remembered. That presence, which at first felt like a waste of time, brought him something valuable, clarity, and that clarity sparked a thought. How many times do I consume more than I need? Food, information, even spending, without even noticing? Mindful eating became his body's version of expense tracking. One of his biggest lessons was learning to tell the difference between hunger and emotion, boredom, anxiety, frustration. He used to solve them with cookies or random pizza nights. But once he became more aware, he found other ways to nourish himself, pausing, taking deep breaths, brewing calming tea, or going for a short walk. He discovered that many of his cravings came from an unsettled mind, the same mind that led him to impulse spending. Understanding that was a game changer for his financial intelligence. Another big shift came the way he chose what to eat. Heavy meals made his mind sluggish, so he began opting for lighter, cleaner foods. And that change impacted his productivity directly, because an overloaded body burns more energy just to function, which means less energy to study, less patience to plan, less clarity to invest wisely. Natural, fresh meals became his invisible asset, his silent energy reserve, fueling not just his body, but his ability to act responsibly. And maybe the most beautiful part, this new ritual helped him appreciate every resource he had. His time, his meals, his money, and his rest. He realized real luxury isn't found in expensive restaurants. It's found in eating slowly with intention and presence. This shift made him more attentive to what truly matters. And that new awareness opened the door to the next step in his journey, reclaiming lost time away from screens. Habit 5, reduce screen time. For years, he believed he had to be online all the time. Notification after notification, endless videos, the never-ending scroll of Instagram. His phone became an extension of his hand, and his focus, a hostage to cheap distractions. But that silent habit was draining something precious. His mental energy, his attention, his productivity. And as a result, his financial strategy suffered too. Because let's be real, how can you plan your month, build assets, or organize your budget if your mind can't focus for 5 minutes without jumping to the next video? So he made a decision. No more than 1 hour of screen time per day outside of work. It wasn't easy. At first, he felt restless, like he was missing out. But what he discovered was even more valuable. He was getting back time he didn't know he had lost. He returned to simple pleasures: drawing, reading physical books, taking walks while listening to finance or entrepreneurship podcasts. On one of those walks, he heard a line that hit hard: "If you're not building your own future, someone's paying you to build theirs." It stung, but it woke him up. Reducing screen time wasn't a digital detox. It was a choice for freedom. He replaced the habit of waking up and checking social media with reviewing his monthly plan. He used evening blocks to study investments, learn about passive income, and research side hustles. He started seeing YouTube as a business, not a distraction, and that changed everything. He stopped just watching other people's stories and started writing his own. One night, instead of falling asleep with his phone in his face, he brought a notebook to bed, wrote his goals, read 2 pages of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, went to sleep early. The next morning, he woke up with clarity, purpose, and energy to act. That's when he truly understood time is the most powerful asset we have, and wasting it on endless scrolling is like burning money every single day. When he took control of his attention, he began taking control of his financial life too, because there's no income growth without focus, and no focus while you're a prisoner to distraction. Now more connected to real life, more present with himself, he started noticing the beauty in the small things: the sound of the wind, a child's laugh. Reducing screen time reconnected him with his own existence, and that reconnection led to one inevitable question: if I can change this much in such a short time, what else can I transform if I take the next step now? Now that you know these 5 habits, what will you do with them? Will you store this away for later, like stacking books on a shelf and never reading them? Or will you apply it with courage, with focus, with intention? Because in the end, the difference between those who transform their lives and those who just dream about it comes down to one word: action. You don't need to change everything all at once. Pick one habit, just one. Do it for a week. Watch, feel, write about it, and see if your mindset, your energy, your clarity, and even your financial habits don't start evolving too. Which of these habits will you start today? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear which insight shook you the most. And tell me, how much of your financial freedom might still be stuck in old routines? How many opportunities have slipped by because you lacked energy, focus, or direction? The time to change is now. Your next version begins at your next sunrise, and that version needs all of you, with discipline, with planning, with simplicity, because you don't need luck. You need a plan. If this content stirred something in you, if it made you pause, reflect, or decide, then hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and share this video with someone who deserves to wake up from autopilot. Here, we don't just talk about money. We talk about purpose-driven wealth, strategic habits, and building a life worth living.